The hall was silent. Only the humming sound of the alien ship's engines filled the air. Soldiers stood in rows waiting for orders. Among them was Daniel, a human soldier captured in this strange war. He was surrounded by tall, silver-skinned aliens with glowing blue eyes. They were cold, serious, and never showed emotions. But one alien girl was different. She was smaller than the rest, with soft features and wide, curious eyes. While others ignored Daniel, she often watched him quietly. Her name was Lyra. The others called her broken because she asked too many questions. On that day, as Daniel was fixing a damaged power panel under guard, Lyra suddenly leaned close. Her voice was soft but sharp enough to cut through the silence. "Wait," she whispered, tilting her head. "Humans reproduce like—" "That?" Daniel froze. The wrench in his hand slipped and clattered to the floor. Every soldier nearby turned their heads. The room became tense, like a wire stretched too tight. Lyra's face was full of innocent curiosity, but her question was dangerous. She looked at him with shining eyes, and then said the words that made his heart pound. "Can I try too?" The guards stiffened. One of them gripped his weapon, ready to strike Daniel if he moved wrong. Daniel's mind raced. He knew this was no joke. Among these aliens, such talk was forbidden. For them, reproduction was a scientific process, cold and mechanical, controlled by their leaders. Romance, touch, intimacy, those things did not exist in their world, and now Lyra, in front of everyone, had asked the most forbidden question of all. Daniel swallowed hard. "You shouldn't ask me that," he muttered, keeping his voice low. But Lyra didn't stop. She tilted her head again, like a child who had found a puzzle she wanted to solve. "Why not? Why is it a secret? Why do humans do it so differently?" The guards hissed at her. "Silence, Lyra. Do not speak such things," one shouted. Lyra flinched but did not look away from Daniel. Her eyes were locked on him, searching for an answer. Daniel felt sweat on his neck. If he spoke, he could be punished. If he stayed silent, she might keep asking and get herself killed. The weight of choice pressed on him. Why did she even care? Why risk her life for a question? He remembered the rumors whispered among prisoners. Some aliens were beginning to envy humans. Humans had something they did not: emotions, family bonds, natural birth. To the aliens, that was weakness. But to some, like Lyra, maybe it was hope. One of the guards raised his weapon. "Say one more word and I will end you both." The hall grew darker, more dangerous. Every alien soldier stood rigid, waiting. Lyra trembled but stood tall. Her voice broke the silence again. "Humans, they make life with love, don't they?" Daniel's heart stopped. How did she know that word, love? That was not a word these aliens used. That was not something their culture allowed. He met her gaze. For the first time since his capture, he saw something human in alien eyes. Not cruelty, not indifference, but longing. Daniel took a deep breath. If he answered, he would put both their lives at risk. If he stayed silent, she might never stop searching for the truth. The commander's footsteps echoed as he entered the hall. A tall alien with hard, glowing eyes. His presence made even the guards bow their heads. "What is this noise?" the commander demanded. His gaze landed on Lyra, then on Daniel. The air grew heavier, filled with tension that could break at any second. Lyra's voice shook but remained clear. She pointed at Daniel. "I want to know," she said, her tone both innocent and rebellious, "why humans do it that way, why they care." The commander's eyes narrowed. A cold silence spread through the hall. Daniel realized this was no longer just a question. This was the beginning of something dangerous. Something that could change not only Lyra's life, but his own. The commander's eyes burned like cold fire as he studied Lyra. The guards lowered their weapons, waiting for his command. Daniel stayed completely still, afraid that even one wrong breath could get them both killed. But instead of punishing her, the commander only spoke in a slow, heavy voice. "Curiosity is a sickness, Lyra. You were warned before. Do not let it spread." His words fell like chains. The guards dragged Lyra back, away from Daniel. Her shoulders shook, but she did not cry. Her glowing eyes stayed locked on him, desperate for the answer she had almost received. That night, Daniel was marched back to the human quarters where the other prisoners stayed. The place was nothing more than a cold metal room with hard bunks, but whispers began the moment he stepped inside. "Is it true?" one prisoner asked. "Did she really ask you that question?" Another muttered. Daniel didn't reply. The walls had ears. Cameras blinked red from every corner. If he spoke, the guards would know. Still, he could feel the rumor spreading like fire through dry grass. Lyra, the broken alien girl, had dared to speak of the forbidden. And she had spoken it only to him. The humans began to look at Daniel differently. Some with curiosity, some with fear, a few even with hope. Maybe this strange alien girl wanted to help them. Maybe her interest in humans was more than just childish questions. But not everyone felt hopeful. In the alien barracks, soldiers whispered too. Daniel could hear their hissing voices when he was escorted past them. She is dangerous. She is weak. If she learns too much, it will poison the others. Humans should not be allowed to live among us. They plant ideas. They make us feel. The word feel came out of their mouths like poison. Still, no one could silence the fact that Lyra had spoken. And once spoken, the question grew larger. Why do humans reproduce with care and closeness? Why do they connect life with love? Daniel lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling. He remembered the way Lyra's eyes had glowed, not with fear, not with cruelty, but with something he thought was extinct in her kind. A hunger for truth. The next day, while repairing another broken console under guard, Daniel noticed Lyra again. She stood at the far end of the hall, pretending to study a datapad. But every few seconds, her eyes flicked to him. When the guards were distracted, she moved closer. Her voice was barely a whisper. "They are watching me. But I still want to know. Why do you risk so much for love?" Daniel froze. His throat tightened. He wanted to answer, but fear chained his tongue. Before he could speak, a guard barked at her, forcing her back. That night, the rumors grew louder. Humans whispered that Lyra might be different from the rest. Some wanted to trust her. Others thought it was a trap. Daniel knew he couldn't ignore her forever, but if he spoke, both of them could die. The alien soldiers, too, whispered their fears. Daniel overheard them while working near the barracks wall. "She must be corrected. She asks questions that weaken us. If she keeps this up, she will be erased." The word made Daniel's blood run cold. He realized then that Lyra was in danger because of him, because she had spoken to him, because she had asked the forbidden question. Her life now hung by a thread, and yet she kept seeking him with her eyes, as if only he held the answer she needed. One night, when the guards dimmed the lights and silence filled the quarters, Daniel felt a shadow move near his bunk. His heart pounded. It was Lyra. She had slipped past the patrols, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. She leaned close, her whisper sharp and urgent. "Tell me the truth, human. Tell me what love means. I don't care what they do to me. I need to know." Daniel stared at her, stunned. He could hear footsteps of guards in the distance. One wrong sound and they would both be finished, but her eyes begged him. And for the first time since his capture, Daniel felt the weight of choice shift again. This was no longer just a rumor. This was a secret war of truth and silence, and he was standing in the middle. The night was heavy with silence. Daniel sat on his bunk, staring at the glowing eyes in front of him. Lyra's face was close, her voice low but urgent. "Tell me what love means," she whispered again. "Tell me why humans care when they create life." Daniel's chest tightened. Every instinct told him to stay silent. The alien guards patrolled outside, their footsteps echoing like drums. If they caught her here, both of them would be punished. But Lyra didn't move away. Her eyes glimmered with something Daniel had almost forgotten existed among her kind. Hope. Finally, Daniel whispered back, "Love means you don't just create life. You protect it. You sacrifice for it. You feel joy when someone else smiles. You hurt when they hurt." Lyra's lips parted slightly. Her breath shook. "We don't have that," she murmured. "We are given orders. We reproduce in chambers, no bond. No choice." Her voice broke, almost like she was confessing a crime. Daniel realized she wasn't just curious. She was starving for something her people had denied her. Suddenly, a harsh voice thundered outside the quarters. "Inspection!" Lyra's eyes widened. She slipped back into the shadows as the door hissed open. Guards stormed in, scanning every bunk. Daniel pretended to sleep, his heart pounding. He could still feel the warmth of Lyra's breath on his face. When the guards left, he knew one thing. Lyra was risking everything to know the truth. And if he didn't help her, she would be destroyed. The next day, the alien commander summoned Daniel. The tall figure stood in a chamber of glass and steel, his glowing eyes like knives. "You will not speak to her again," the commander said coldly. "Do you understand?" Daniel clenched his fists but nodded. The commander leaned closer. "Humans infect. Your kind spreads weakness. If she asks again, you will stay silent. If you answer, you will die." The words were final, but deep inside, Daniel knew he couldn't obey. Later, while repairing a reactor pipe, Daniel saw Lyra again. She didn't speak, but her eyes told him everything. She was still waiting, still desperate, and then a slip of paper brushed against his hand. His heart nearly stopped. Paper was rare here. Aliens used digital tablets, but this was different. He unfolded it when no one was watching. Inside was a single sentence written in shaky human script. "If love is real, show me." Daniel's chest tightened. Lyra had learned to write his language even in secret. The risk she took was unthinkable. That night, when the guards dimmed the lights, Daniel made a choice. He whispered across the silence, knowing she was listening. "Love is not just words. It is action. You prove it when you protect someone. Even if it costs you everything." There was a pause. Then her faint voice replied from the shadows, trembling but strong. "Then I want to feel it. I want to know it, even if it destroys me." The following days grew more dangerous. Whispers spread among the aliens. Some soldiers began to watch Lyra more closely. Daniel overheard threats, rumors that she would be sent for correction. That word haunted him. Correction didn't mean teaching. It meant erasing her curiosity, stripping away whatever made her different. Daniel couldn't let that happen, but how could a single human protect an alien girl among an entire army? One evening, while the humans were forced to eat tasteless rations, Daniel felt eyes on him again. Lyra stood across the hall, her hands gripping a tray. The commander's guards were nearby, watching her closely. Still, she risked everything. Her lips formed a silent word across the distance. "Love?" Daniel's chest ached. He gave the smallest nod, a promise that he would not abandon her. And for the first time, Lyra smiled. Not the cold, practiced smirk of her people, but a fragile, trembling smile that looked almost human. The guards noticed. Their eyes narrowed. Daniel realized then that the danger had doubled. Her question had grown into something bigger than curiosity. It was rebellion. It was forbidden knowledge taking root, and now both of them were marked. The moment Lyra smiled, everything changed. The guards saw it. The commander noticed it, and Daniel knew a storm was coming. That night, whispers crawled through the metal halls like ghosts. Some aliens whispered that Lyra had gone too far. Others said she was infected by human weakness. One soldier muttered the word that made Daniel's blood run cold: purge. Daniel sat on his bunk, staring at the shadows. He could almost feel eyes watching him from the corners of the cell. Cameras, guards, unseen enemies. The air was heavy with suspicion. But through the silence, a soft sound reached him. A tiny knock against the wall near his bunk. 3 taps, then 2, then 3 again. He froze. Slowly, he pressed his hand against the wall. 3 taps back. A whisper followed, faint as breath. "Daniel." It was Lyra. She was in the chamber next to his. Somehow she had found a way to speak through the thin wall. "Are you safe?" she asked. Daniel swallowed. "For now." "But they're watching me," she cut in. "The commander called me broken. He said if I keep asking, I'll be erased." Her voice trembled, but she didn't stop. "Tell me why they fear your kind. Tell me what humans have that they don't." Daniel closed his eyes. He knew the truth could doom her, but lies would kill her soul faster. "They fear us," he whispered, "because humans feel deeply. Love, anger, joy, pain. We fight harder because of it. We survive because of it. And if someone we love is in danger, we would give our life without hesitation." The wall was silent for a long time. Then he heard her soft voice again. "That is what I want. To feel, to care, not to live like an empty shell." His chest tightened. She was no longer just curious. She was ready to rebel against everything she had been taught. The next morning, tension filled the training hall. Daniel was ordered to work on repairing a control console. But he could feel the stares of alien soldiers burning into his back. Lyra stood on the opposite side, silent, surrounded by guards. Suddenly, one of the soldiers stepped forward, a towering alien with sharp eyes. He pointed at Lyra. "She smiles like a human," he spat. "She is infected. She is weak." The commander's cold gaze fell on her. "Weakness spreads. She must be corrected. Two guards grabbed Lyra by the arms. She struggled, her voice rising. "No, I'm not weak. I just want to know the truth." Daniel's fists clenched. He wanted to shout, to fight, but his body was chained by fear. One wrong move, and they would kill him where he stood. Lyra's eyes found him as the guards dragged her away. Her lips formed a single word. "Help." Daniel's heart pounded. He wanted to run after her, but the commander's glare froze him in place. The room was silent except for Lyra's fading cries. That night, the human prisoners whispered nervously, "They'll erase her. She's finished. Stay away, Daniel, or they'll take you too." But Daniel couldn't stay away. The image of Lyra's terrified face haunted him. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling, when a thought struck him like lightning. If he did nothing, she would vanish. But if he acted, maybe, just maybe, he could save her. He remembered her words, "If love is real, show me." Now was the time. Later that night, Daniel moved quietly through the shadows. He had learned the guards' patterns. He had studied the way they patrolled, when the lights dimmed, when the cameras blinked. He pressed his hand against the wall where Lyra had knocked before. 3 taps, silence, then faintly. 2 taps back. She was still alive. Daniel leaned close. "Hold on, Lyra, I'll find a way." Her trembling voice replied, "They're moving me tomorrow. Somewhere I won't return from." Daniel's blood ran cold. He had one night, one chance. As footsteps echoed in the corridor, Daniel pulled back into the shadows, his mind racing. He wasn't just planning escape anymore. He was planning defiance. And for the first time since his capture, he felt something burn inside him. Hope mixed with fury. Lyra had asked him what love meant. Tomorrow he would show her. But he knew the price could be his life. The night was long, but Daniel didn't sleep. He lay on his bunk with his eyes open, listening to the heavy boots of guards as they marched past. His thoughts raced faster than the engines of the alien ship. Tomorrow they would move Lyra, and he knew what that meant. She would never return. Daniel clenched his fists. He could not let her vanish. She had trusted him. She had asked him to show her what love truly was. If he stayed silent now, she would be erased, and her last spark of hope would die with her. For hours he studied every sound, every shadow. He counted the footsteps of the guards, the way their patrols overlapped, the blinking rhythm of the cameras on the wall. He had nothing but his mind and desperation. But sometimes desperation was enough. At dawn, the prisoners were forced into the work hall. Daniel's hands moved like a machine, repairing broken circuits and panels, but his eyes searched constantly. He saw Lyra across the chamber, her wrists bound by glowing restraints. 2 guards stood beside her, waiting to take her away. Her face was pale, but her eyes still burned with defiance. When she spotted Daniel, she gave a tiny nod, as if telling him she wasn't afraid. Daniel's chest tightened. He had only a few hours left. During the work shift, he slipped a shard of broken metal from one of the panels he repaired. Small, sharp, easy to hide. His hands trembled as he slid it into his sleeve. If the guards found it, he would be executed instantly. But without it, he had no chance. That night, silence pressed against the walls of the human quarters. The other prisoners whispered warnings. "Don't do it, Daniel. You'll kill us all. They'll crush you before you even reach her. You can't fight them." But Daniel's eyes stayed hard. "I won't fight them," he whispered. "I'll outsmart them." The others turned away, shaking their heads. But in their silence, Daniel heard something else. Hope. Maybe if one man defied the aliens, it would mean humans weren't truly broken. When the guards dimmed the lights, Daniel moved. He timed his steps with the hum of the engines, sliding through the shadows like a ghost. His heart pounded, but his hands were steady. At the end of the corridor, 2 alien guards blocked the path to Lyra's cell. They stood tall, weapons glowing faintly in the dark. Daniel pressed himself against the wall, waiting. The moment came when one guard turned to adjust his communicator. In that heartbeat of distraction, Daniel stepped forward and struck with the shard. A quick slice across the panel on the wall, sparks exploding like tiny stars. The lights flickered. The cameras blinked. For 3 seconds, the corridor was blind. Daniel moved fast. He grabbed the first guard's arm, twisting hard, and shoved him into the second. Both stumbled, but their shouts filled the hall. Lyra's eyes widened as she saw him through the bars of her cell. "Daniel!" He rushed to the control panel, slamming the shard into the lock. Sparks flew again, and the door hissed open. Lyra stumbled out, her restraint still glowing. "You came," she whispered, disbelief in her voice. Daniel grabbed her arm. "I told you. Love is action. Now run." But their escape was far from over. The alarms screamed through the ship, red lights flashing like blood. Heavy boots thundered in the distance as soldiers charged toward them. Daniel pulled Lyra into the shadows of a maintenance tunnel. The narrow space smelled of oil and burning wires, but it was their only chance. "They'll catch us," Lyra whispered, fear finally breaking through her defiance. "Not if we move fast," Daniel said. His breath came in short gasps, but his grip on her hand was unshakable. For the first time, Lyra felt something new, her heart beating not for orders, not for duty, but for survival. With someone beside her, they crawled deeper into the tunnel as the sound of alien soldiers grew louder. Every step was a gamble, every corner a possible trap. But for Daniel, there was no turning back. He had chosen. Lyra wanted to know love. Now, in this desperate escape, she was about to feel it. The alarms screamed like angry beasts, echoing through every steel corridor. Red lights flashed overhead, painting the walls in blood. Daniel and Lyra pressed themselves against the cold metal of the maintenance tunnel, breathing hard, their hearts pounding in rhythm with the alarms. "They know," Lyra whispered, her glowing eyes darting toward the distant thunder of boots. "They're coming." Daniel gripped the shard of metal still clutched in his hand. His knuckles were white, his face streaked with sweat. "Then we keep moving," he said. "Don't stop. Don't look back." Lyra swallowed hard and nodded. For the first time, her body trembled, not from fear of her people, but from something else. Adrenaline, wild and burning. She had never run for her life before. She had never chosen to fight for it. They crawled deeper into the tunnel until it split into two paths. The left sloped upward toward the docking bays. The right dropped down into the core chambers, where the engines roared like monsters in their cages. Daniel paused. "Which way leads to freedom?" he muttered. Lyra closed her eyes for a second, remembering the schematics she had secretly studied. "Docking bays," she whispered. "But they'll expect us there. They'll seal it fast." Daniel's eyes hardened. "Then we go where they won't expect us." They turned right, plunging into the heat of the core chambers. The deeper they went, the hotter the air became. Pipes hissed with steam. Machinery growled, vibrating under their feet. Lyra staggered, her alien skin glowing faintly in the heat. But Daniel pulled her along. Behind them, the thunder of boots grew louder. Voices barked orders, sharp and merciless. "Find them!" "Alive or dead, it does not matter." Lyra flinched. Daniel's grip tightened on her hand. "Ignore them. Focus on me." Her eyes locked on him, and for the first time in her life, she obeyed not because of orders, not because of fear, but because she trusted him. They reached a narrow platform hanging above the core. The glowing energy pulsed below like a beating heart, filling the chamber with blue light. The platform was barely wide enough for two people. One wrong step would mean a deadly fall. Lyra froze. "We can't cross this. It's suicide." Daniel looked at her, his jaw firm. "Then stay behind and wait for them to erase you." Her chest rose and fell, fear and defiance clashing inside her. Then she shook her head. "No. If this is what humans call choice, then I choose to go with you." Step by step, they crossed the trembling platform, the hum of the core shaking beneath them. Daniel led, Lyra followed. The heat burned their skin, sweat dripping into their eyes. Halfway across, a voice roared from behind. "Stop!" Daniel turned. The commander stood at the entrance, his tall frame filling the doorway, his eyes glowing like twin blades of fire. Dozens of soldiers lined up behind him, weapons aimed. Lyra's body stiffened. "Eyes here," she whispered, fear flooding her voice. The commander's voice boomed. "Lyra, step away from the human. Come back and you will live. Stay with him and you will die." The soldiers raised their weapons. Energy crackled in the air. Daniel tightened his grip on Lyra's hand. His voice was steady, even under the weight of death. "Don't listen to him. Love is not about fear. It's about standing together no matter what." Lyra's eyes shimmered with tears. For the first time, she truly understood. The commander's voice sharpened. "Choose, Lyra, now." Silence hung heavy in the chamber. Every soldier held their breath. Lyra's hand squeezed Daniel's. Her trembling lips parted. "I choose him." The words exploded like thunder. The commander's eyes blazed with rage. He raised his hand and the soldiers fired. Daniel pulled Lyra down just as beams of burning energy tore through the platform. Metal screamed and shattered. The walkway collapsed under them. They fell into the roaring blue glow of the core. Lyra screamed. Daniel wrapped his arms around her as the light swallowed them. The blue light swallowed them whole. Daniel's ears rang as he fell, the roar of the ship's core thundering in his chest. Heat blasted against his skin, blinding and burning. He clutched Lyra tightly, shielding her as they plummeted toward what looked like certain death. But instead of fire consuming them, a force caught their bodies. The energy core did not destroy, it lifted. Their fall slowed, suspended in shimmering blue light. The core pulsed like a living heart, holding them as if testing their will. Lyra gasped, her glowing eyes wide. "It's protecting us." Daniel's jaw tightened. "No, it's reacting to you." The energy wrapped around her like threads of light, humming in rhythm with her pulse. She was alien, yet she was no longer just alien. Her choice, the choice to feel, to care, had awakened something. Above them, the commander roared, his voice shaking the chamber. "Blasphemy! She is tainted!" Soldiers lined the broken platform, weapons glowing. But none dared step closer to the core's light. Fear shimmered across their faces. Lyra trembled, staring at Daniel. Why does it choose me?" Daniel's voice was steady. "Because you chose. You chose love when everyone else chose fear." Her heart raced, understanding settling into her soul. For the first time, she wasn't empty. She wasn't broken, she was alive. The commander raised his hand. "Fire!" Energy blasts shot downward, but the core's light flared, forming a shield. The beams scattered like raindrops. The soldiers faltered, fear spreading through their ranks. Lyra's voice echoed through the chamber, louder than she ever thought possible. "You fear feelings because you think they weaken you. But they make you stronger. Humans survive because they fight for each other. And now so will I." Her words struck like lightning. Some soldiers lowered their weapons. Their eyes flickered with doubt, as if hearing truth for the first time. The commander snarled. "Weakness spreads. It must end." He leapt down, his body glowing with power, landing on a platform near the core. His weapon crackled, aimed straight at Daniel. Daniel pushed Lyra behind him. His grip on the shard of metal tightened. He was only human, facing a giant who could crush him with a thought, but he stood his ground. "This ends with me," Daniel said. The commander's weapon charged. But before he could fire, Lyra stepped forward, glowing brighter than ever. She raised her bound wrists, and the energy restraints shattered like glass. Her body pulsed with the same blue light as the core. It flowed through her veins, into her eyes, into her voice. "No," she said firmly. "It ends with us." The core surged. A shockwave of light burst outward, blinding everyone. The commander was hurled back, his weapon flying from his hand. Soldiers collapsed, shields shattering. The entire chamber shook as if the ship itself was alive. When the light dimmed, Daniel stood stunned. Lyra was radiant, her skin glowing with streams of energy, her face calm yet fierce. She had become something new, something her people had never seen. The commander staggered to his feet, fury twisting his face. But when he looked at his soldiers, he saw hesitation. Their eyes were on Lyra, not him. One by one, they lowered their weapons. "See her glow," a soldier whispered. "She chose, and she is stronger." "Maybe we were wrong," the commander roared in rage. "Traitors!" He charged, but Daniel stepped forward, planting himself in his path. "You wanted to erase her because she cared," Daniel said, his voice steady. "Now she's the reason your people have hope." The commander raised his fist to strike, but Lyra lifted her hand. The core answered. A beam of light surged upward, wrapping around the commander and dragging him into the air. His scream echoed, then faded into silence as the light consumed him. And then it was over. The chamber grew quiet. The soldiers bowed their heads, shaken but changed. Lyra turned to Daniel, tears glimmering in her eyes. "You showed me what love is. Not just words. Not just stories, action, choice, sacrifice." Daniel smiled weakly, exhaustion pulling at him. "And you showed me that even aliens can change." She took his hand. Their fingers laced together, glowing faintly with the core's light. For the first time in her life, Lyra felt complete. Around them, whispers grew among the soldiers. Not whispers of fear, but of something new. something forbidden that was no longer forbidden. Hope. And in that moment, Daniel knew their fight wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about creating a future where humans and aliens could stand together, not as enemies but as something greater. The alarms faded. The light dimmed. And hand in hand, Daniel and Lyra walked forward into the unknown together.